Okay, welcome everyone to the New Nine podcast and YouTube channel. I'm your host, Brandon Cubitt, or Cubitt Golf on Instagram, and welcome to the first ever episode. I'm really excited to share this golf community with everyone, and I hope you have some similarities with what I'm trying to accomplish within New Nine Golf and to help grow the community. So let me give you a little background as to what New Nine Golf is. So New Nine is a term that I would always use kind of at the end of the front nine. That is something I would say after the front nine, whatever had happened, a couple bogeys, a couple pars, maybe a birdie here and there. New nine is just a motivator to start the back nine and try to learn from the mistakes from the front nine. So I think a lot of us hit the ball into the water, into the rough, or you're still getting warm up on the course when you're within that front nine, and the back nine is where you try to really excel. So to learn from the mistakes and do better. So New Nine is a reflection of not just golf, but in life in general. That stuff happens. We all come into bad experiences within work or relationships or family or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of bad out there. So it's taking the lessons that we learn from the bad and trying to turn them into a positive. So New Nine is a golf community that really just looks for the positive in any opportunity. So why I started this YouTube channel and podcast is to really just tap back into my creative juices. So in college, I took broadcasting. I thought I wanted to be on TSN or the Sports Network or the Golf Network and just talk about sports. And it wasn't really until I got into that industry that I really just couldn't get the right opportunity to be within broadcasting and work on something that I'm passionate about, like golf. So I kind of got my feet wet when I had an internship in school, and most people go to like small towns around Alberta, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Leduc, Red Deer, these types of places where you could get a real job at a radio station or a TV station, and that wasn't really somewhere that I wanted to go. So I ended up shooting off all these blank emails to big radio stations in the States, the American Top 40 with Ryan Seacrest and those types of shows, really just shooting for the stars. So as I was sending these emails out, I got a letter back from a syndication in the States called Premier Radio. And Premier Radio was affiliated with the American Top 40 with Ryan Seacrest. And they said that we don't need anyone for the Seacrest show, but we need some help on a rock show called The Sixth Sense with Nikki Sixx. And being a huge Motley Crue fan, I knew what that show was immediately, because I had I listened to it countless times on our local rock station, CJ92, that played that show on the evenings. So being a huge Motley Crue fan, I was looking for any opportunity to go work with Nikki Sixx, and sure enough, the guy that had coordinated it just says, yeah, how long can you come here? How long can you stay? And those types of things. So within about a month and a half from that first email, I was on a flight to Los Angeles to go work for Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue. So when I had got down there, I didn't really know what I was going to be doing other than working some odd jobs within his on his radio show. So what I found out is that Nikki Sixx interviewed a ton of local rock icons, or not necessarily rock icons, but people of pop culture, but mostly to do with music. So a lot of bands would come in and they would play acoustic sets. So bands from at the time they were on tour with Kiss, so like Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons would come down, or Dave Grohl would pop in, or Zakk Wylde from Ozzy Osbourne. Like all these big rock icons would come by the studio a couple times a week to shoot some interviews and then maybe an acoustic set. So what they needed help with was they needed someone to help run their video cameras. So when these bands would come in, I would videotape the interview as well as the acoustic set so that we could put it up online or on social media and those types of things. So that's really where I got my feet wet, working like an amazing job for a really cool person, obviously like Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue. And it was just such an amazing experience. So I worked there for a couple months and couldn't land anything full time, but I had thought, at that time I'd made it. I was young, I was out of school, and here I am working for a rock star. It wasn't until that I was trying to lock something down full time with them is that they said, look, you're Canadian and unfortunately we can hire an American to do the same type of thing, so we can't offer you a full position. So I had come back to Calgary looking for an industry job within the radio or television, and there was really nothing that I could find. It was hard enough to get an interview, and then when you did get an interview, there's 100 people applying for that type of job. So I kind of went on a different career path that I switched right into sales. So now I'm in professional sales, but what it does allow me to do is I have more time to golf. So golf is first and foremost my biggest passion. I love everything about golf from the equipment. I'm kind of a gearhead, so equipment to clothing and courses and just playing in general. And what's so cool about playing golf is the types of people that you get to meet along the way. That even if you're having a bad round, if you're in a good foursome or you got a good buddy you're playing with, it's such an amazing game just for the pure sense of camaraderie and conversation within people from the game. So how I started in golf is I've been playing since I was a little kid. I'd probably say 8 years old. My parents, got me a set of kind of a driver, 5 iron, 7 iron, and a putter, and played around on little par threes with my parents. But then as the years kind of got on, I still had such a love for the game. At the time, I would play hockey in the winter, like most Canadian kids, and then baseball and golf in the summer. And as I was playing baseball, I was doing batting practice. Maybe it was like a 12-year-old, and my coach said, do you golf? Because your swing is such a golf swing compared to a baseball swing. And I think that's kind of when the light went off that said, I'm not necessarily a baseball player. I'm really more of a golfer. So that was kind of the turning point around 12 years old that I'm like, you know what, I really want to play golf a little bit more seriously and maybe less of some of these other sports. So I had a good buddy that had what he called was a sponsored junior membership. So at the time I just played around, with my parents, couple courses, municipal courses here and there, nothing too expensive. And my buddy had this sponsored junior golf membership that he could play for an entire summer for a fairly low amount. I think it was like $600. This course was Links Ridge. It was a semi-private course, and for me, it was the best course that I had ever seen. So of course, I wanted more information about this sponsored junior membership because I wanted to play all summer with him as my buddy, and we would just golf nonstop. So that was probably the age of 12. When I turned 14, I got a job at a golf retail store. So at the time it was called Nevada Bob's. It had its own standalone store, but it eventually got taken over by the Sport Check group or the Fazani's group and into all the Sport Checks. But at that time it was a standalone big golf store, and this was kind of before Golf Town. So when I got this job as a 14-year-old, kind of just getting ready to go into high school, I got to meet all the other guys I was working with were really close to the same age. I was 14, they were 16 and 17. They kind of took me under their wing almost like a little brother. But it was working in that golf retail store that my love for golf just went through the roof. That now I'm involved with all the newest clubs, the balls, putters, swings, like everything was just golf, 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 golf. And as a 14-year-old, I just ate it up. It was such a good escape for me to do just something that I loved. So at 14 again, now I'm in retail sales, that I'm dealing with people much older than myself, trying to sell them, a $500 driver, a $1,000 iron set, and just talking with these types of people, we really all had this shared love and passion for golf. So working there for a couple years, honestly, was the best job that I ever had. I had the best part obviously was the discount for what little money you had at the time. You could buy discounted balls and clothes, and you could really get a really nice bag for not too expensive of a price because you were obviously an employee. And one of the cool things were the people that would come in to buy stuff. So like a bunch of the Calgary Flames that lived in the northwest of Calgary, they would come in. So I was thinking like Alex Tanguay and Mike Camilleri at the time, Todd Bertuzzi, whatever year that would have been, I guess would be 2006, 2007, that kind of era. So whoever the Flames were at that time. But they would come in and buy stuff. And then one of the guys that would buy stuff regularly was the principal of my high school. So now this was a funny relationship that I started building with this guy, is that, he would kind of treat me good at school if I could get him a golf discount. So I can remember being in like high school math, grade 10, and there'd be a phone call to the classroom. Teacher would answer, take it, 10 seconds, hang up, and she'd say, Brandon, you're wanted in the principal's office. So of course all the kids around me were like, ooh, Brandon in the principal's office. But I would get in there, and the gentleman, Mr. McFarland was his name, I'd sat down, and very stern, conservative looking man. He says, hey Brandon, I'm told you work at a golf store. So he says, I'm in the market for some new clubs. What's the chance that you can get me a discount on some new clubs? So I'm like, well, anything I can do to get the principal on my side. So he ended up coming down a week or two later later and got him a deal. And that was just another relationship that I had built with a golfer. And, it's not a bad idea to have a principal in your back pocket. But again, just being in the golf community, from playing in it and working in it and meeting people within the industry, is just, there's not a lot of bad things I could say about golf, other than, you have a couple double bogeys or some blow up holes. Golf can be a very frustrating sport. But at the end of the day, it's what I'm most passionate about. So kind of coming back full circle is I've created this golf culture, New Nine Golf. So now that I'm a bit older and I have a little bit different perspective on life, I'm really drawn to entrepreneurs and to trying to start something your own, to not have to work for anyone else, and to really just be your own person, set your own rules, and come and go as you please kind of thing. So New Nine Golf is my creation of trying to do that. Now, since being in the sales industry, I've been fortunate enough to be a member at a private golf course. So now, being a member at a private golf course, I'm able to golf there a lot. And coming, with golfing a lot, you get to meet a lot of cool people. And just this golf course in particular, as well as, you play other courses, there's just so many influential people within the game of golf, and they're very interesting, and they all have their own stories. So New Nine Golf and the New Nine Golf podcast and YouTube channel is going to put a spotlight on the interesting people within golf, whether they're successful business people or former athletes, or they're entrepreneurs, or they run very large companies. Everyone has a story, and golf is so cool that you could be playing golf with a lawyer or a doctor or like I said, an entrepreneur or a sales guy. Everyone is so different, but we all share the same passion for golf. So I'm gonna put my interview hat back on and try to meet as many people I can within the golf community, that I can put out some good content and some good videos as well as interviews. And that's kind of gonna be the basis of the New Nine Golf channel, or YouTube channel, as well as podcast. So one of the first people, or the first person that I've interviewed for the golf podcast, or the New Nine Golf podcast and YouTube channel, is a close friend of mine and mentor, Ron Dahl. So Ron Dahl is someone that I met at Country Hills Golf Course, and he's a very influential figure there, that everyone knows Ron, and everyone would say a good word about Ron, and he's actually now the acting general manager of our course. So he's kind of switching from the retirement lifestyle now kind of into the acting general manager of a golf course. So if you guys stay tuned, you'll hear the interview that I did with Ron, and he has such interesting stories and a good take on just success in general, that he's someone that I view as successful. So I kind of wanted to see what made him successful, what's his view on success, and how do they kind of all relate to golf. So that's just going to be a taste of one interview, one type of content. And we're going to be talking with so many different people just within the golf game, men, women, all races. There's no exclusion in golf. And that's something that I really want to dive into and really just put a spotlight, like I said, on the people within the game of golf. So something else kind of cool within the game of golf, and with technology and social media and Facebook, Instagram, these types of things, is how social media can connect all these types of golfers. So to be present on social media, on Instagram, you can follow so many people, from the professional PGA Tour players to the guys that work on the clubs, to the marketing teams, to the respective channels that broadcast. Like, it's so cool to see an in-depth look of within the golf community. So I've just always been involved in the golf community. It's something that I'm so passionate about, and I know a ton of random stuff about golf, whether it be golf courses or golf coaches or PGA Tour caddies or who's leading the money list, FedEx Cup points. That is something I'm so passionate about. I really just want to try to connect the golf community. In talks with all of this, I'm trying to show the similarities between golf and life, or golf and business, golf and relationships, that it really all ties together, that there's so many highs, there's so many lows, and that golf is a common ground that people can share all of those experiences with. So right now, let's go take a look at my first interview for the New Nine podcast and YouTube channel with Ron Dahl. Okay, so here today we are in Calgary, and we're in a beautiful backyard of one of my close personal friends and mentors, Ron Dahl. Ron and I met at Country Hills on the golf course, but we have a lot more similarities than just golf. Today we're going to dive in and get to know Ron a little bit better, and we'll learn his story and how maybe his story might relate to the New Nine brand. Firstly, I want to welcome you to the New Nine podcast and YouTube channel. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. This is quite an honor.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. So I'm trying to think back of when you and I would have first met. So obviously our connection is the golf course, Country Hills.
Correct.
At Country Hills, there's what's called Men's League. So Men's League is kind of a team of, how many teams are there? 20 teams?
It's 20 teams, yeah.
20 teams, you play once a week, and it's doubles match play. But these teams are built up of about 10 guys per team, right? You guys won how many years in a row did you guys
win? We won 3 years in a row, and no team had won more than once, so we were the only multiple year winners, and then we came in second the next 3 years when, of course, you were on our team.
Exactly. So I can remember being at a Flames game.
We were always just really, really close.
Right.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
We were at a Flames game. Now that you remember, we were in the Platinum Suite, and we'd kind of bumped shoulders.
Yeah.
And I said, Ron, you got to get me off of my Men's League team and get me onto your team.
And we were looking.
So it worked out that I was able to hop on. But the funny thing is, you guys haven't won since I've been on your team.
We'll win again.
So another funny story that I was thinking of, I went into your office when you were back working at Wise.
Yeah.
And there was a picture in your office. You had kind of a shrine of a whole bunch of cool pictures, but one specific picture, it was you and someone, I can't remember who it was, but you're wearing the same shirts.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
I used to have a box at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, so I would, I had it for basically 6 days, and I would sell all the tickets for the weekends off, and the Tuesday and Wednesday Pro-Ams, just give the tickets away to people. So because I got the box every year, I was invited to the sponsor on the Monday night or the Tuesday night at Waste Management. They invite all the sponsors there, and they have a lot of celebrities there. So Dr. J, I saw him the year before I had the picture taken. I saw him, and I was out smoking a cigar, and he just came up, and we chatted and smoked a cigar. And so the next year I walk in, and I have a lot of Robert Graham shirts, and I've got this Paisley Wild one, as you saw in the picture, and I walk up to Dr. J, and he's wearing the exact same shirt, and I said, I got to get your picture. Remember we smoked? He goes, yeah, I remember you. And so it was kind of cool. So
what are the chances?
Yeah, it was like 1 in a zillion, but I felt sorry for him because I stopped and talked to him, and once we got the picture taken, there was like 50 people waiting in line to get their picture taken, and I went, oh my God, I'm sure glad I'm not a celebrity.
Look what you started.
Yeah, and I felt bad for him. But
that's too funny.
Very nice man, though.
So the New Nine podcast is all about golf and just how it relates in general. What was kind of your introductory into golf?
Well, I grew up in a small town of Vulcan, Alberta, and so when you grow up in a small town, you play hockey, you curl, you play baseball, and you golf, whatever it is, you just get involved, right? So Vulcan had a 9-hole golf course, and I used to play baseball, and when baseball was done, I started playing golf. So then in the wintertime, you play hockey and curl, but they have a 18-hole golf course now. So, but the original 9 is the one that I grew up playing as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you good off the start? Or?
No, I was horrible. I played with, my first set of clubs were ladies' clubs because I couldn't, I was probably 12, 13. And I really wasn't big into golf, but one of my best friends was Bill. And so he would drag me out there, and then I got, as I got older, I got into it a lot more. So, yeah.
What was kind of the turning point where you started to say, you know what, this is more than just a game that I want to try to do better at it?
I got so when I started working at Oil Patch in 1977, I'd work on a schedule of 15 days off and 6 days off. So during those 6 days off, I would try to go play 6 rounds of golf, and then I started getting better at it and hit the ball further and scoring better. And so, I was probably a 12 handicap, in my early 20s and up till I was about 30, and then started getting to be a single-digit handicappers. Golf is a sport that you get out of it what you put into it. So the more I put into it, the more I got out of it. So
cool. Do you have any hole-in-ones?
I have 2 hole-in-ones, yeah.
Where were they?
I got one on number 4 in Talons, and then I got one in Sundry.
Okay.
But the one in Sundry is more interesting because I got it on the 17th hole at Sundry, and we ended up playing 27 holes that day. So we played that same hole again, and I took the same club and I hit the same shot, and it lipped out and it was only 4 inches from the cup. Or I would have had 2 in the same day.
That's crazy. I can't imagine having 2 in the same day.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. We thought it was, it's probably quarter inch, half an inch from going in the hole. So
Right. So new 9 is all about the front 9 sucks. You have triple bogeys, double bogeys, you hit it in the water, you hit it into the rescue. And the second 9 is trying to learn from those mistakes and to better yourself, get more pars, more birdies. Can you remember the worst day of golf you ever had?
You know, I was just going through the questions before you guys showed up here, and I was that's the only question I was really rocking. And because I love this sport, I just block the bad ones out, and I really don't. There's bad 9s, and I've had lots of Ray Charles on the front and Raymond Floyd on the back, but that's what us old guys call it. But you know, I've had a lot of those 47 37s, 46 36. But you know, if I play bad, I come back the next day. It doesn't really bother me. So
I like to think of myself as a fairweather golfer, that if the wind is high or the rain's coming, I don't want any part of the course.
Yeah.
You not so much. I've played with you in events that if the round takes off, you got your rain cart cover, you got a heater in there, you got the tunes going, you got a cigars. That I've definitely played some rounds of golf with you that the weather was absolute trash, and we made the most of it. So
exactly.
It's fun being paired with you in those types of events because A, you're prepared, and B, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you got my garage and my back of my Lexus are full of little things like the cart cover and the heater and that. It could be 8 degrees out, but it could be 30 degrees inside the cart cover. So
Can you think of the best day of golf you ever had?
You know, there's some days I broke par, or I think some of the funnest days is even last year I went out to Banff with Craig Dale and Jeff Snyder, and it was probably one of the most funnest days I've ever had in the golf course. We laughed so hard, and because Snyder and I go at it all the time, and so you know, I used to organize a golf tournament in Cranbrook. I passed it off. It's called the Cranbrook Oilman's Invitational, and I was on the committee for 25 years and ran it. And it's a very fun event. Those are like 6-hour rounds. A lot of 2-day week, 3-day. You play golf on the way out there, and then you play the 2-day event. And there's Calcutta money in that, so it's a lot of fun. But it's a lot of networking and business done on the course, and you get to spend the whole weekend. And usually, I used to handpick my teams for fun, not to win, but just to have a lot of fun. So I had a lot of great years out there. So.
Well, that's good to know. It's not always where you're playing, it's who you're playing with.
That's exactly
right. I've been a part of your foursomes a handful of times, and I've had fun every single time. So you're definitely a blast to be paired with. If you could play one course for the rest of your life, what course do you think that would be? A course that you've played?
I've played a lot of great courses. I played Royal County down in Northern Ireland, and I have a picture of that in my office, as if you remember, but it has 18 hard but fair holes, and I think that's probably one of the greatest. I've played Pebble Beach and a lot of different courses, but Royal County down was one of the most amazing. Yeah.
So if you were to plan a golf destination trip and money's no object, you can go wherever you want, would you say that Ireland is the spot to go? Yeah,
I've been to Scotland 3 times and Ireland once. So if you had the money, I would spend 2 weeks in Scotland and 2 weeks in Ireland and then come home, because links golf is the best. I love it. It's fantastic.
If you were to plan a golf vacation on a budget, maybe somewhere a little closer to home, a little bit more affordable, what do you think is the best destination to do?
Yeah, there's some good buys in like Southern California, and that Calgary, the golf is so cheap, and if you get into Phoenix, it can be pretty expensive. I've been to Texas. There's some really good. If you go in the fall, like Reynolds Plantation, Barton Creek in San Antonio. There's some really good. They have some really good stay and play packages in the fall. So yeah.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you had a booth at the Waste Management Open.
Yes.
Is that the best PGA Tour event you've been to?
It's the funnest.
Yeah.
I've been to 2 Masters. I've been to 2 Open Championships. So I love the Open Champ. The Masters it's a Masters. So Waste Management, it's just like my Cranbrook tournament. You get 34 guys in your booth that are all your best friends, and you just it is so much fun. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I've still yet to go to a PGA Tour event. So of course, Waste Management closest to home, and you just hear of the party.
Yeah.
Would you say the access to the players or to the tournament is better at the Waste Management?
It's fantastic because the driving range is very accessible. Have you played TPC Scottsdale?
I have, and I've played the neighboring courses around there, kind
Yeah.
of in that Greyhawk area, but
Yeah.
not the stadium course.
The stadium course it was built for viewing, and there isn't a bad seat, and they've built up all the boxes and that, but there's mounting there, so you can get to any on any hole and have a good view.
So when you're down there at the Waste Management Open in your booth, are you bringing clients down with you, or
Yeah.
what type of business is going on when you're at these types of events?
So basically, we used to have a house down there, or a townhome, for 10 years, and then so I would bring clients and a business partner and 2 clients down there, and then a lot of my friends would come down. There's so many guys from Calgary that would come down that have places down there. So, I didn't have any problem selling the tickets when the price of oil was $100, but as it last 5 years, it's been tough. So I gave my box up, and I went one more year after because I have a friend in Vancouver that has a box, and so I was able to get some tickets from him. So.
It's funny you mentioned the current state just of in Calgary and oil and gas in general.
Yeah.
It's no secret that Calgary's been an oil and gas town for as long as I can remember, and probably as long as you can remember,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That was the industry to be in, and
Yeah.
it still provides a very good living, but just based on things economically, it's not going the way that it used to.
No.
So now you're kind of in semi-retirement.
Yeah.
Would you call it retirement?
Yeah, I'm just, me, I'm restless. I organize hockey teams, hockey tournaments. I'm an organizer, so I can't sit around too much. So even my present job right now, I'm not getting paid for it, but I love going to work every morning. I was there at 6 o'clock this morning. So.
Well, that brings me to my next question. So you are a volunteer
Yes.
acting general manager of our golf course, Country
Yes.
Hills. So what is it like now to be on the other side, of the ropes, and to be part of the operations of how the club works?
It's it is a business, but it's a service business, and we have a lot of great employees, and it's doing the COVID situation that we've had to come in and call. I really enjoy working with Colin Lavender. We have a blast, and I think we're starting to make a difference there, and but I can put that on my resume now that I was a general manager of a golf course. It is a different type of business, but my office is pretty close to the first tee, so.
Yeah, it's got its perks, I imagine.
Yeah.
Every time I
Yeah.
pull up to the course, you got that front spot right
Yeah.
beside the clubhouse, so I can
Yeah.
see your car. That's funny. Looking back on your career, you're obviously someone that I look up to as a very successful person, that I wish one day I could have the success that you've had. Did your life turn out how you thought it would when you're 20s? Or in your 20s, what was your vision of success?
I had no really expectations. I was just a hard worker. I really like going out and working out in the oil fields on rigs, service rigs, drilling rigs, and different servicing applications. But when I got into my 30s, I saw a lot of you work for people and you make them a lot of money, and said, I want to be one of those guys someday. So I know that you share the same interest in being an entrepreneur, and so if you don't like working for other people, then you become an entrepreneur. So yeah.
Right.
And sometimes it turns out very good, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Knowing what you know now, just about in life or business, what advice would you give yourself if you're to talk to your 20-year-old self?
Oh, I would have bought way more real estate instead of
Okay.
stocks, and
I thought you were
would
going
have
to say
bought.
Microsoft or Apple or something.
Well, yeah, those things you don't know, but really, like in the city of Calgary, when I moved here, you can buy houses pretty cheap. The mortgage rates were high back in the early 80s, but if you could have bought more inner city land and that, in houses, you could do as good as being an entrepreneur, really. So
Okay.
yeah.
When I say success now, knowing everything you know now, what comes to mind when you think of success?
Oh, I think, for me, it's just family. I have a wife of 40 years, 3 children, 1 grandchild, and it's, to me, that's money. Money can buy you things, but it's really the success. It's how people view you and your family. And to me, family is everything, so.
They say one of the key components to success are habits. What are some of the habits that you've had along the way that you've kind of stayed true to?
This one, hard work. There's a lot of guys that are a lot smarter than I am. You can outwork a lot of people because they have lazy tendencies, or they're not that hard. They think they're smarter than you. So you can, if you're willing, it's just like being an athlete. If you work harder than someone else, if you have that gift. So hard work takes you a long way in anything, really.
Right. We mentioned kind of the economic times that we're in now, with oil and gas not being as prominent as it once was. Do you see any industries that are prevailing in economic times like this, or do you see any trends in industries that might boom in the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's hard to say right now. It's so everything is, in our provinces relies on oil. So I think there will be. I just don't know what they are right now. So being involved in that business for 43 years, you kind of get blinders on, and there's some, I have a friend, she runs a boxing studio, and it's Rumble Boxing. It's very successful, and she worked in the oil business for 10 or 12 years, and she's, I have another friend that, her boyfriend runs a restaurant, and it's very successful. So it's there is other things, other businesses other than the oil business, that's for sure. So
you're someone that I look up to as a mentor. You're someone I would call a mentor.
Thanks.
We talk regularly, and I try to pick your brain as much as I can. Do you still stay in touch with any of your mentors?
Not as much, because I'm 63 years old and they're in their 70s. I had a lot of guys that, and I've mentored a lot of younger people in the industry as well, because when I was younger, I didn't really. I only had 2 or 3 guys that I learned a lot from, and so you just and all those guys were just hardworking guys. So, my father was a hard worker, my grandfather. So it just, and all my kids work very hard. So, and really networking is one of the greatest things you can do. Get involved in hockey and golf and different things, and volunteer and do stuff, because it's not what you know, it's who you know, really. So yeah.
That's fair, because it's, we were talking about this before on camera, just the network of people at the golf course, that they come from so many different walks of life, and they're all gathered in the same place just for the love of golf.
Yeah, you get people at Country Hills that are plumbers playing with lawyers, and they're just golf buddies. That's the nice thing about golf, and that's the relationships. It's hockey and golf. I built more business relationships off those than any other. Yeah.
To tie this all into the New Nine brand, can you think of a specific instance that you think that I've had a New Nine experience, that I've been beaten up, I've been pushed down, I've been told no, and then you just see the light at the end of the tunnel? What's a New Nine experience that you've had?
Yeah, the oil industry is, you hitting the cycles. Selling your company, like I've sold companies at perfect timing, and then started companies at bad timing, and haven't been that successful. So the oil industry is very cyclical. So it's kind of like a New Nine type of thing. So yeah, and even right now, as bad as things are coming out of this, there's going to be some people that make a lot of money, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities, because it will turn around eventually. So
right,
yeah.
Ron, that's all I have for you. I really appreciate you being a part of the very first New Nine podcast, as well as the YouTube channel. So I'm looking forward to putting this all together, and I really appreciate you being my first guest.
Well, thanks for having me, and you worked with me on the marketing plan at Country Hills, and it's really taken off this year. Our sales there for memberships and that has really down years really been very solid. I'd like to thank you for having a part of that. So
yeah, well, thanks for including me. It was nice to be the youngest guy in that room by 20 years.
Yeah, well, you were there for a reason.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. In normal circumstances, I'd shake your hand, but due to COVID, I'll leave that one out. Yeah. So again, thanks very much, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you and Mark for coming over. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, I'd like to thank all of you guys for tuning into the first podcast and YouTube channel for New Nine Golf. I'm going to be pumping out as much content as possible. If you want to hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications, that way you know when new videos are coming. I'd really appreciate that. Leave a comment. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like, and I'll take as many of those recommendations as possible, and I look forward to building you guys some new content. Stay tuned. Check out our website, new9golf.com. See what hats are in stock, and do your best to support the golf community. Thanks so much.